computer. Yes. Great. So everyone can see me, right? Can see me and Matt on my screen. Is that correct? Yes, I see yeses. So thank you everyone for joining today. So we were just introducing ourselves on the chat box, sharing your name and where you are from. And because it's 6 past the, yeah, for me, 6 minutes past the hour. So let's start if it's okay with you. Yes?
Let's go.
Let's go with it. Great. So let me play with my settings. So blah, 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 blah. There we are. So hello, everyone, and welcome to our first webinar on this series. So today's topic is going to be top tips for nonprofits to generate innovative and feasible social enterprise ideas. So this is part of our new webinar series, which is about generating new income streams for your nonprofits. And this is brought to you today by Teach a Man to Fish. We are an educational charity based in the United Kingdom, whose mission is to empower young people with the skills they need to succeed in school, work, and in life. So my name is Paola, and I'm originally from Argentina, based in Spain today, but actually in the UK, like half and half. And I'm passionate about capacity building and supporting people setting up social enterprises and school businesses. And I'm here today with Matt, my co-host, and I'll let you introduce yourself, Matt, if you like to.
I'm Matt Hugg, and I'm the president of Nonprofit.Courses, which is a education and training platform for nonprofit. We have, I think 1,100 or more than that, free videos and podcasts for all sorts of nonprofit purposes. So check it out.
Great, thank you. So let's share together a few welcome and housekeeping rules before we start. So I think by now, most of us, we are familiar with how it works in Zoom. But however, we usually go with this introduction. We usually try to stay focused on every presentation when we attend a webinar or workshop in person. Because we are online today, we'll ask you to please try to focus as much as you can. We know you might be connecting through your mobile or your laptop, and then you might have notifications popping up. But if you can bear with us this hour, we appreciate that effort. And there are different things that you can use here on Zoom. So there's the raise hand option, which few of you trial already. There's a yes or no button as well, and you can give us a hands up or down, or I'm not sure if you can unmute yourself right now, but if not, just raise your hand and Matt kindly will allow you to share your thoughts on something in particular that you like to share. So the way it's going to work, we are going to be sharing with you some information on different slides, and then we'll have this Q&A box available for you to pop your questions, and Matt will be coordinating that, and he'll be sharing with me as we go the questions as they come along. So there'll be an opportunity to share things or ask questions on the go. And if there's anything remaining towards the end, we can always allow a few minutes as well for a Q&A session on whatever is left that hasn't been covered.
So, and all I'll say is that there are a lot of moving parts here, so just be patient with me.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Matt. Yeah, I've done webinars before, but I haven't done it in this format. So yeah, thank you, Matt. Bear with us on this, trying to coordinate things remotely and see how that goes. But we have good intentions today. You are here with us, and we appreciate that. So let's make the best out of this. So we ask you already to introduce yourselves. So please keep on doing that for the ones who are joining now. If you'd like to share your name, where you're from. So Matt said he's based in the US. I'm half UK, half in Spain, depending on the lockdown situation. So yeah, that's a way for us to practice how that chat
and the organization
works.
Too. What your organization is and the mission. That's really great to hear, because we love the fact that this is getting to so many different kinds of nonprofits.
Exactly. Thank you, Matt. And we like to take this hour as an opportunity to be as interactive as we can, and for you to interact with each other as well. And because we are dealing with such an international audience, we thought it'd be good to clarify from the beginning that we'll be using probably different terms, but we mean the same, whether it's a non-profit, a charity, or an NGO. We are talking about the same type of organization, and the same goes with social enterprise or social business. You might hear me referring to both, but it's exactly the same. Great, so if we are ready, let's get started then. But before that, let's check if you are in the right spot today. And that's the case if you want to create new income streams for your organization. I know there are some teachers in the audience, so we welcome you as well. This is mainly for nonprofits, but I'm sure you get value from this today. So please hold on over there that you'll get what you're looking for.
I haven't met a teacher that didn't need more income streams for their organization.
Exactly. Who doesn't, isn't it? So if you want to create new income streams, but you don't know where to start, and you are not sure how you could do this, or how that will actually work in your context on the programs you are running as an organization, then let me tell you that you are in the right place. So all good, raise your hand if that's the case. So that's what it's all about on today's webinar. So let's have a look at what we'll be covering then in this hour. Just let's try to keep it to an hour, probably an hour, 10 minutes max, I would say, if you can stay a little bit longer with us. So it'll be 1 hour, and I'll be sharing with you all the presentation slides and the 2 practical tools that we promise we'll be sharing with you at the end of this session. So we'll be covering what is an entrepreneurial mindset and why it's important to develop one. What is empathy and why is it relevant to business planning? 3 steps to start creating new income streams for your organization, And those are, the first activity will be covering or checking in detail what are empathic interviews. The second one is about empathy maps. And the third one will be creating a problem statement. If you need more help on how to get started, or you are interested in taking this step further, stay tuned with us, because at the end of the presentation, we'll be sharing what we recommend as the next step and a few more tips for you to take action after this webinar. So as I said, I'll be sharing the presentation slides and the practical tools after today's session. So there's no need to take notes if you don't want to, so you can be fully present with us today. Great, so before we dive into today's content, let's have a look at who we are. Let's introduce ourselves a little bit more. I don't want it to be that long, but let me introduce myself. So my name is Paula. I'm the Senior Program Manager at Teach Man to Fish. So I work at the School Enterprise Challenge team, and I'm a coach as well, and I'm currently developing the online courses for nonprofits that I'll tell you a little bit more about at the end of today's session. Teach Man to Fish, for those who don't know who we are guided by a simple, all-encompassing mission, and that is, as I said before, to empower young people with the skills they need to succeed in life, work, and in their studies. So we've been running for the last 15 years, and I think we supported more than 300,000 people around the globe with our programs, and we are mainly supporting schools, setting up school businesses, and for the young people to become entrepreneurs. So we like to take that knowledge and that experience and bring it to you today so you can apply it to your nonprofit. Matt, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Real quickly, like I said before, it's nonprofit.courses, not .org or .com. And it's a platform of more than 1,000 videos, podcasts, some documents, all from about 100 or so what I call content experts who are covering just about any aspect of nonprofit work. In fact, if you find something that, or you don't find something you want it, just pop me a note and we'll seek it out. But the whole idea is, and a couple of you who are on the call here know I've been teaching nonprofit management for a lot of years. My background is in charitable gift fundraising, and I really love getting information out to folks, directly teaching like we're doing today, and helping people get what they need to make their nonprofits really thrive. So check out the site, pop me a note if you need any help or have any questions, and I really hope you enjoy and get a lot out of what we have here, because there's a lot of interesting stuff coming up.
That's great. Thank you, Matt. I think you touched on something important. Towards the end of the session, we'll be sharing all the contact details from both organizations so people can reach out to us easily. One thing that I've noticed, because I'm coming from another call and I have all this energy, please do let me know if I'm going too fast, because there's a lot to cover. And I'm aware I'm not a native speaker, so I'll try to slow down a little bit. And yeah, so you can be with me on this one. But I apologize in advance. I'm coming from another call, which was an interesting conversation as well. So before we introduce,
Late in the day, you had enough coffee.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, back-to-back meetings all day. That's a new norm here. Anyway, so now that we introduce ourselves, so it's time for us to get started. Before doing that, I would like to ask you, why do you want to create a new income stream for your nonprofit?
And why don't you, just for ease of, put that in the chat box, not the Q&A, and that'll make it a little bit easier for everybody to see.
Exactly. Thank you, Matt. So we'll allow 30 seconds for you to think about this question and share why you like to create new income streams for your nonprofit. What's the reason that brought you to this webinar today?
Yeah, times are tough. That's true, Priscilla. Yeah, excellent point. Diversifying funding streams there, that's really important, especially these days. Yeah, not to be donor driven. Oh, boy, we've gotten a lot here. Focus on results driven work. Okay. Improve sustainability, financial stability. That's huge. Yeah, and serve the target people. Thank you. That's excellent, Manoj. Sorry if I did, because COVID-19, right, is really presenting a challenge to donors, and sustainability, right? Excellent. Developing employment programs right. Yes, true. And there's a wide variety of ways to do income, business income. Increase sustainability, financially independent. That would be huge. Yeah, bring on more employees, right? Because you can play a big part of the economy that way. Let's see, diversify activities, right? Serve your mission. That's huge, huh?
And he's mentioning sustainability as well.
Yeah, and sustainability, right? Exactly.
Yeah, with the current challenges.
You know, Pell, I heard something recently I thought was right on spot. You know, when a business gets more customers, they get more money. When a nonprofit gets more customers, it gets more bills. Because the customers, the clients, don't always come with money. And so sustainability is a huge issue. And
exactly.
We're happy to help with that.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you everyone for sharing. I think there's a common thread, right? There's a common thread that we talk about financial independence and sustainability and not being donor reliant, sustainability existence as well. Happy to join in this webinar, says Evans. Great. So I think we are clear. We have some more clarity now on why we are here and why we like to learn more about how to create new income streams for our organization. So let's move on to social enterprises then. Why social enterprises? So at Teachment to Fish, we believe an effective way of creating new income streams for your organization is by setting up a social enterprise, because those are organizations that address a basic unmet need or solve a social environmental problem through a market-driven approach. So it's a combination of both, this business-driven or market-driven, but with a good purpose. So we believe this is a good combination for a nonprofit to work on. So for traditional nonprofits, social enterprise can be a powerful complement to other activities. When it advances a social mission, it's about achieving what your vision is in terms of your beneficiaries and how you can make a difference to the world. So for us to set up a social enterprise, it's more or less the same, or you follow more or less the same steps as setting up a business, because it's about coming up with a business idea, working on your business plan, and actually launching your social enterprise based on your plan. So we know there are different structures depending on the countries, and we were chatting yesterday with Matt, thinking how it's in the US, how it's in the UK, how it's in Africa. So Matt, would you like to share with people what you shared with me yesterday in terms of the B Corps, which is kind of a similar concept?
Yeah, this is something that's come up in the U.S. and I think is getting some traction in other places, and that is this what's called a B Corp or benefit corporation. And in some states in the U.S., it's actually a legal entity. Other places, it's just a certification. But the idea is to release the people who are running the business from responsibility of having to always maximize shareholder value, to say that there is more to a business than just getting the shareholders' money. It is about doing social good. And there's and if you go to bcorporation.org, I think it is, they have a set of standards that talks about environmental standards and equity standards and other things like that, that really bring people together on this concept that it's more than just giving money back to the people who own the corporation. And it's also kind of a safety net for the people who are running it, so that the people in the corporation, the owners, don't come back and say, hey, there's something wrong here.
Great, thank you. Thank you for sharing. So it's about that. That's why we are sharing this image, and passion led us here, because it's about not losing sight of your social mission, but yet trying to achieve that financial independence and sustainability that the participants were sharing before with us. So on today's webinar, we'll be covering some of the activities related to the first step that I mentioned before in the 3 steps, which is coming up with an innovative and feasible idea for a social enterprise. But before we dive deep into the knowledge and skills that are required to come up with ideas for a social enterprise, we wanted to first explore the foundations and the essence of what makes an entrepreneur an entrepreneur. Yeah. Which brings us to the first topic, which is the entrepreneurial mindset. So before we dive into that, I'll be interested to know how many of you heard about entrepreneurial mindset before. So if you agree, Matt, let's launch a poll.
Let's go for that. Yeah, entrepreneurial mindset. Have you heard this term before? Is it something you're familiar with? Okay, well, looks like a lot of people have. Handful haven't. Some aren't so sure. That's okay. Excellent. Well, it's real. I got to say, it's really cool to see these numbers kind of rack up here.
Yeah, exactly. And it's moving again. So, the yes is coming back.
More than 70% of you have heard the term, and so it'll be interesting to see if what you have heard aligns with how we're defining this.
Exactly. So I think majority of you already voted. Let's allow 2 more seconds, and then we'll end the poll. Great. Let's leave it like that. Then let's share the results. As you said, Matt, 72% already knew or know about this concept of entrepreneurial mindset. 11% no, and 17 are not quite sure what we mean by that. Great.
That's good. That's very
So
helpful.
yes, so let's explore that. What is an entrepreneurial mindset? And
Yeah. Paula, what is an entrepreneurial
what
mindset?
is it? And before
Help
we
us out
do
here.
that, before we do that, let's explore together first what is a mindset?
Hmm.
Because we all have a mindset, and yet often we are not aware of it or the effect that it has in our lives. So a mindset is a system. Is a system. I'm trying to make my I was trying to make my slide work. So a mindset is a system made up of the beliefs, assumptions, and knowledge which we use to process information. Our mindset informs the decisions we make and it guides our behavior. So an entrepreneurial mindset is a specific set of beliefs, knowledge, and thought processes that drives entrepreneurial behavior. So it's a way of thinking. But what actually is entrepreneurial behavior, which comes from having an entrepreneurial mindset, you might be wondering.
Yeah.
So it's not just about starting companies. In fact, the core of entrepreneurship is building a solution to a problem. And that's key for today's session. It's about finding solutions to problems. So that will involve identifying needs, brainstorming creative solutions, innovating, and taking calculated risks. In short, it's about having a vision and making it a reality. So when you think about it that way, it becomes clear that everyone has the natural ability to be entrepreneurial. For example, as children, the skill we use to learn to walk demonstrate these entrepreneurial abilities. We get up, we fall down, we continue trying and trying until we succeed and we can walk on our own. So that's just an
And
example. It doesn't need to be, you don't need to be, I don't know, Steve Jobs to be an entrepreneur or have a mindset. So can you think of any example, Matt, to share?
yeah, actually, there are a couple of things that come to mind when you talk about this. And one is the phrase entrepreneur. So a lot of people have iterated entrepreneurial mindset into being an entrepreneur. In other words, being an entrepreneur within an organization, which is totally possible. That people are able to be creative and to do things that move their organization forward without starting something new. So like you said, it's not like being Jobs and Wozniak starting Apple or anything. You can do this within the context of your own organization. The other thing that hits my head here is that, if you look at the people who have started their own thing, a lot of them have come from families who have also done this. I come from a small business family. My dad and his father, my grandfather had their own businesses. It was just natural to do for me. And I didn't even see that there was it was just something people did. But if you don't come from that background, that's okay, because this is totally something that you have within you. You just maybe haven't looked at it from that lens before. It's perfectly possible for you to do these things and come from a family who has always worked for other people, but now it's your turn to do something and to be innovative and to solve problems and to be an entrepreneur, or like I said, an entrepreneur.
Exactly. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, you can develop this system, these beliefs, thoughts, and behavior. Great. So let's have a look then at what are the characteristics of people with an entrepreneurial mindset. What will distinguish them between the other mindsets available? So developing an entrepreneurial mindset is at the heart of what we do. As you said, Matt, it's super useful for organizations, and the techniques that we share today will help you understand the needs of the people you serve. That will be your beneficiaries and the non-profit sector, which you could use to develop your social enterprise. But you can also use them to develop and improve the quality of your programs. So it's about becoming an entrepreneur and having this mindset, but it could be as powerful as to develop a social enterprise or for running your programs. So coming back to the characteristics of the people with an entrepreneurial mindset, firstly, they believe in themselves. They believe in their ability to succeed and influence their own life outcomes, even if they don't know how to do something yet. But that
And
belief is there.
I'm really glad this is first, because I think this is probably the most important part here, that you believe that you can make a difference. And by nature of the folks who are working with a nonprofit, everybody kind of believes they can make a difference. Otherwise, maybe you wouldn't be working for a nonprofit. But being able to have some self-confidence that you can do this is huge. That will get you a long way in this process.
Exactly. Thank you, Matt. So firstly, the belief. Secondly, they have purpose and understand that they create value by making themselves useful to other people. That's why we can link it to the social component on the vision and the difference we like to make through our work. Related to this, as we pointed out before, they see problems as potential opportunities. And to turn problems into opportunities, they need to be highly resilient, resourceful, and solutions oriented, and to follow through on their ideas and plans. Fourthly, they are empathetic. They have the ability to imagine how somebody else feels. In this webinar today, we'll be looking into this characteristic in more detail. And finally, they are curious and constantly seeking knowledge and opportunities to learn. I was saying on the call that I just finished, there's no right or wrong, there's only learning. And there might be a quote around there saying that, but it's about the learning process that comes after you action something. So for people with an entrepreneurial mindset are not afraid to put their ideas out there, test them, and get feedback from others. So that's what we are going to be learning today and covering on today's session. So in summary, at Teach Men to Fish, we believe an entrepreneurial mindset is a way of thinking that enables you to overcome challenges, be decisive, and accept responsibility for your outcomes mainly. It is a constant need to improve your skills, learn from your mistakes, and take continued action on your ideas. So it's about this cycling loop or learning loop on I action, I learn, feedback, and then I continue. So it's about that. But of course, this is a complex concept, and other people and organizations may have slightly different way of defining it. So we wanted to ask everyone today, can you think of any other characteristics which people with an entrepreneurial mindset tend to have?
Yeah, put that in the chat box and let's see what we get. Yeah, creative, that's excellent. Yeah, creative, innovative, that's another good one. Come on, you can't let this guy from Oklahoma get all the answers here. Risky. Oh yeah, some independent, daring, right? Well, risk takers is interesting. We could talk a little bit about that. Self-aware, have rapport. Yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting, the risk-taking one. Yeah, persistent, that's huge. Yes, being persistent. Overcome failures. Yep, visionary, that's really important. Creative, confident. Yep. Self-actualize, yes, to know yourself, that's really important in this process. To be positive, yeah, it's tough to be positive, believe me, but no, results-oriented, leadership skills, that helps a lot.
Leadership and teamwork, yeah, that comes. William, you read my mind. Yeah. The collaborative and teamwork.
And creative and innovative. I'll tell you, the people have said risk-taking, communication, good sense of humor. Yeah,
that's an important one.
A lot of things. Pain, stress tolerance, right? Yeah, the one I was wrote down here was resilience and grit. The ability to stick to it and keep going. That's really important. Yeah, I try to get to risk takers a couple times here to say that, it's the ability to mitigate risk, I think, is really important too. That you want to, a lot of entrepreneurs will, they look like they're taking a risk, but they've looked at this thing from all different angles and tried to minimize the risk. And in the end, they take that risk, but they know what they're getting into.
Yeah, exactly. Like planning ahead, like being
Exactly.
aware what those risks are and have a plan in place to be able to minimize them, as you said.
Right. Disciplined, yes, that's really big. Learning from mistakes, calculating risk and return for investment. And remember this, we're not just talking about investment in dollars, we're talking about benefit to the people you serve, which is a big part of social enterprise. So
Exactly.
it's like a nonprofit, it's that double bottom line, right? You have to be financially solvent, but you have to carry out your mission.
I think
Positive change maker. This is
yeah.
really good.
Thank you everyone for sharing. Yeah, I think we are good
So,
communicator. Yeah.
yes. So now that we have all this understanding and people have pitched out some really good things, and being a good negotiator always helps. Right? Why is it important to have this entrepreneurial mindset to begin with? Paolo, what do you think?
That's a really good question, Matt, because it's what is interesting about this is that having an entrepreneurial mindset doesn't necessarily mean, as we said before, that you need to become a business person. It
Hmm.
is not about that. Everyone needs an entrepreneurial mindset to succeed in life, whatever they choose to do. Because we've seen it through the characteristics that we share, and people were sharing with us a few more. So it's about that. It's about succeeding in life, whatever you choose to do. So it's critical to understand that experimentation, learning from failure, as somebody said before, and developing strong entrepreneurial skills will set you up to do great things in life. Whether that's launching a social enterprise, your own startup, or climbing the ladder in your own organization, or becoming an entrepreneur, as we said before.
Yeah.
So let's have a look now. Why is it important when we think about a social enterprise? So why is it important when we are thinking about product development or service, or when we design things? So you'll be relieved to hear that it's not a requirement. Sorry, it's not a requirement. We're thinking about coming up with a business idea.
Hmm.
So for a social enterprise, you don't need to have a business idea. So this is why we are bringing the empathy and understanding the entrepreneurial mindset and how we put all the pieces together. So what we recommend is to start with a completely open mind when thinking about what you can actually do as for a social enterprise if you like to go financially sustainable and less donor reliant, as we said before. So not having a fixed idea of exactly what type of business you want to set up will actually help you, and bear with me to see why.
Yeah, at the start, you want to end up someplace, but at the start, you want to be open. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. And we said it before, it's about finding the solution to the problems. So it's about that. It's developing that skill to being able to identify solutions for existing problems. So by going through the process of coming up with a business idea in the way which we're going to talk to you about today, you'll make sure that settle a business idea which is feasible and desirable. We like to create things that people actually want to buy, or whether it's a service or a product and they need it, right?
yeah.
So put it simply, it means like you'll design a product or service which people want and need to buy, as I said before.
And
So
Paula,
yeah,
if you go out in the world, people walk out the door of wherever they are right now, you will see this is the basis of just any business, is to provide something that is desirable. You go to the grocery or market, or you go to, online to buy something, you need it and somebody's providing it. They have given you something that good or service that you need and want. That's all we're
exactly.
talking about here.
Exactly. And when we define social enterprise, we said there are organizations that solve an unmet need. So it's about that.
Right.
It's identifying what's a need and then learning how to identify that and then creating a product or service that can solve that need.
And I'm sorry, I mean to go, but
No, no, go
it's
ahead.
think about need. It's not just, well, somebody already sells that, and so you're not going to go there. That's not the case actually, because do they sell it to the people that you serve? Do they sell it in the place that you are? Are they selling it? Is the product the same, exactly the same as you have envisioned, right? So you got to look at it from a lot of angles, not just the fact that it exists or doesn't exist, because you serve different people than maybe this other product does, or maybe you can do it better. Maybe you have some idea to improve it or whatever. So that's
Exactly.
part of that resilience thing. You got to look at it from
Exactly.
a number of different angles.
And that's exactly what we are going to see together in just a few minutes, like what techniques we can use, what tools we can start using to identify that from a different perspective. Um, so just to give you an example of what we mean by that and how important it is to put the user and the potential customer as the focus point when you think about a business idea, let me share this example. So we said before is about designing something that people actually need and want. So back in the 1940s, the US Air Force suffered from lots of plane crashes, as many as 17 crashes a day. So initially, the Air Force presumed that the reason there were so many accidents is because they've switched to using faster and more complicated planes. But after some research, they discovered that the real reason behind so many accidents is because they designed the planes' cockpits and the helmets to conform the dimensions to the average soldier body. So what they did, they did a study of 4,000 Air Force pilots, which revealed that none of the pilots fell within those dimensions that they thought was going to be the standard. So it's no wonder why the pilots had problems with using the planes and actually having so many accidents. So in the end, they created adjustable equipment to fit most soldiers' bodies and thereby solving the problem. So as you can see, it doesn't end well when you design a one-size-fits-all solution to a problem or launching a product or service based on your assumptions, what you might think people might want without actually having carried out enough research to understand what's the actual need and what people want that you can actually solve and uncover that need. So we're
I
coming
think
up with a business. Yeah, sorry.
I think it's great you're using this example, because I understand that this is what they're doing now with space capsules. They've run into almost the exact same problem. This average person who they initially designed it for in the 1960s isn't the same person that is flying to space today. They're now women and men. They're tall and short and all these other attributes. And so, you don't just solve the problem once.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not about assuming what you think will work. Yeah, not only once, you need to adapt and research and understand what the need is. So that will lead us really nicely to, to truly understanding or learning how to truly understand people's needs. So in other words, sorry, we'll say that is empathizing with your potential customers, and that is the users. So let's have a look at what empathy is then. So what does it mean to you, man? What does empathy mean to you?
Empathy to me means paying attention to other people's needs and wants and what their feelings are, so that I can kind of match them a little bit and serve what they need. Especially in a business context or in a nonprofit context, is looking at your clients, or and you have to ask, who's your client, right? Is it the people who are working for you? Is it the people out in the field that you're serving? Is it your donors, right? So you have all these kinds of, right. Thank you, John Michael, for walking in others shoes. Boy, that is just so
Yes.
good.
Yes. Thank you, Matt, for sharing. And we were about to open it to everyone. If you'd like to share, what
Yeah,
does
so
empathy
go
mean
for
to
it.
you? And John was just saying, walking in other shoes. Sebastian is saying, putting yourself in the shoes of other people. Yes. What else? What does
Anything
it
else
mean to
besides
you?
shoes?
Maybe sandals?
All right.
What does it mean to you? What does empathy mean to you?
That's funny. We talk about, I mean, just all of us talking, yeah, sharing your own story. Thank you. A lot of us talk about empathy. We think we know what it is, but when we come down to defining it, it's really difficult.
It's hard,
Understanding
isn't it? Yeah.
emotions, feelings, yep.
Yeah.
The support needy and interesting. Needy is, we're needy as well as other people. So, uh, yeah,
Being
begin
who
with
you
who
are.
you're targeting. Excellent.
Okay.
And I have to confess, I look at a lot of these things from a marketing point of view, and that's really good that way. Share with dignity. Excellent point.
Being able to see yourself in the other person, place, the situation exactly.
Yeah.
Involving other feelings and decision, understanding other needs and desire. Great. I think we are all talking about the same, right?
Looks like people are really coming together on this. Yeah.
Yes.
Feeling for
Feeling for
others.
others. Yeah, exactly. And you're just sharing the same words. It's about desires, it's about needs, it's about understanding and emotions as well. You mentioned.
Yeah.
Great. So that's exactly, I mean, you got it exactly as it is. So empathy is our ability to see the world through other people's eyes, to share someone else's feelings or experiences by imagining what it would be like to be in that person's situation. And as many of you said before, to be on their shoes, like thinking from that perspective. And of course, we are all different. We human beings, we are all different. We have different feelings, thoughts, and beliefs. So we can't fully experience things the way somebody else does. But we can attempt to get as close as possible by putting aside our own preconceived ideas and choosing to understand the ideas, thoughts, and needs of other people instead. So it's coming back to the assumptions that I mentioned earlier. So it's about putting that aside and truly focusing on who we like to serve and what we like to solve and understand those needs, thoughts, and ideas behind that. So empathy helps us to gain a deeper appreciation and understanding of people's emotional and physical needs and the way they see, understand, and interact with the world around them.
So, yeah, how's empathy worked in your environment? Maybe you can put that in the chat box and tell us if you have a couple lines about how empathy has worked for you. I know one story that comes to mind is if you haven't read a book called Toxic Charity, I know at least one person in this call has. It's really thoughtful talk about empathy. Well, he doesn't directly address it. The guy Lupton is a pastor in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States, and he talks about doing what a lot of pastors do at Christmas time, going and giving away toys to kids who are needy. And he takes these toys, a couple other people, goes to the home, and the father and mother are there, and he starts giving out the toys, and the father just kind of fades away and scoots into the background and leaves. And then it strikes him. He has totally taken away the dignity of that person, of that father, for being able to provide for his own children. And now that empathy moment ended up turning around his entire program, where he started doing things that were building on the dignity of the people he was serving, rather than giving away stuff and tearing down their dignity totally unintentionally. He wasn't expecting to do that, but in his previous way, it was just kind of how people did things. So yeah, take a look at that. I think, like I said, the book is called Toxic Charity by a guy named Lupton. But there are a lot of examples, I think, how when you look at it from an empathetic point of view, you really start changing how you provide what you do, your service, your mission.
Exactly. Changing your perspective. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. But Ashka is saying to diagnose problems of the people and support them to overcome them. So it's about that. It's about that. Our question is, or we are thinking, or we like to share with you how you identify this empathy on your everyday life, whether it's on your work environment now, which is now remotely, but with the people you surround with, or your family and your friends, how's that empathy showing up for you?
And that's an excellent point, because humans are not necessarily, we're not made to work in remote environments. And so our expressions of empathy are different in something like we're doing right now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the main point here is that for everyone to understand and for us to see together that empathy is important to have in your day-to-day life. Like
Yeah.
the tips and tools that we are about to share with everyone, it's something that you can apply for social enterprise or for your life or your work environment. These are the
Oh,
exercise that you can take with you to practice this empathy and understand somebody else's point of view better. If that
and
makes
Thelma
sense.
brings up a great point from different cultural perspectives, that
Mm-hmm.
empathy is you being able to look at it from somebody else's point of view means looking at it from their cultural perspective as well. That's why I thought, taking a course in cultural anthropology is something that probably ought to be required for everybody. But it's that's an excellent point, Thelma. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you. So it's important for our everyday life, and it's also a crucial part of developing a successful social business, because we can only fully understand and design a desirable product or service when we properly understand people's needs, experiences, wants, and preferences. So let's have a look together, and how is that related to businesses? And there's a nice quote which I think explains it well by Tina Barreto, who works in the design team at Airbnb. So this is what she says. It's amazing how innovative you can be if you are thinking outside yourself. By not designing for ourselves, we can incite better experiences. So this is Airbnb, and we know how successful they are. There are other big companies as well, like Google, who have even gone farther, or as far as making it part of their principles. So this is what they say: focus on the user, and all else will follow. So main takeaway on all this introduction to entrepreneurial mindset and empathy is about focusing your attention on who you like to serve, what's the need, and understanding, putting yourself on their shoes so you can create something that will work for them. Yep.
Yeah. Now, Olga brings up an interesting question here about empathy remains empathy despite the culture it belongs to. And I think there's some basics in human emotion, my own perspective, but but there's a cultural context in these things that we need to see, and that's I think where some of the folks were going. Yes,
Great.
right. No, not a problem, Olga.
Great. So thank you, Matt. So I'm going to introduce you to some activities which can help you develop your empathy skills and better understand the needs of the people in your community, which is, we understand, and the people you like to serve. So as I said before, these are tools and activities that you can definitely use to start thinking about business idea for your social enterprise, but you can also take with you and practice them with your team, your family, your social environment, because they are all useful for that. Sorry, my alarm just sounded because I'm checking my time. So let's go through that together. So a good way to start to learn more about and start to better understand the needs and problems of people in your community is by carrying out interviews. What a better way to understand what's going on if by asking questions. So you might be already familiar um, with conducting interviews as part of a market research. So traditional market research aims to collect facts about people, such as the amount of food that they eat, for example. So it is important and will be something that you will learn to do later. We are not saying that doesn't work, but that's not the focus right now. But before we think about the facts, we think it's useful to start with empathetic research. And that's different from the traditional market research that most of us, I think, we are familiar with, because it's more about understanding people's motivations and thoughts. Like, for example, why they prefer to sit at home watching TV instead of doing exercise. So it's about those behaviors. So the first step is to draft your interview questions. So I'm going to go through some example questions today with you. But these aren't the exact ones that you need to use. It's just as a prompt, just to give you an idea how that can work for you when starting thinking about ideas for social enterprise. And so you're welcome to adapt them or tweak them or add new ones. So we divided these interview questions in 3 different categories. So the first one is about getting to know you question. And that's about breaking the ice. When you talk to people, you don't usually come with, I have these questions, answer them. So it's more about like helping people to feel comfortable during the interview process. So it's about getting to know each other and building that trust and confidence in me trying to find out more so I can help you solve your problems. So that's the place where we are coming from. So let's have a look at some of those getting to know you questions. So what's your name? Could be one. Tell me about yourself. Where do you live? Who do you live with? What do you do? Do you go to school? Do you have a job? Are you looking for a job? What else do we have? And then this is more like, as I said before, getting to know each other. So setting the scene for us to go a little bit deeper. So this is the next level, the problem discovery one. So these questions are going to help you learn about the problems facing people in your community. So we could be asking, what is the hardest part of your day? What tasks take up most of your day? We are trying to understand challenges here. It says over there, problem discovery. We are trying to understand the everyday life, what's the biggest challenge, so we can help them solve that challenge. We could also be asking, what product do you wish you had that doesn't exist yet? That's about creativity and innovation. What is the hardest part about being whatever role, position this person is sharing with you, share before that they are doing, being a student, being a manager, being a business owner, being a small farmer? It could be anything. We are just trying to understand how is life for them through our questions. So that's the problem or the challenge discovery. And then we'll go even deeper, another layer, and it'll be about the product discovery. So we are trying to start exploring what is it that we can create that actually will help them solve those challenges. So we'll be asking questions such as, what do you think could be done to help you with the problem you just share? Another thing could be, what would your ideal solution to this problem look like? So we take them to that future vision. What will be the ideal solution? And then we start building from there. We don't need to create the perfect thing in their minds, but it's about us having a clue or a better sense of what they are looking for. What are you currently doing to solve this problem? Because we are not going to reinvent the wheel. They might be doing things that are not working. So we like to find out more about that. And yeah, and I think that's it in terms of product discovery. So we have these 3 categories: getting to know you questions, the problem discovery, and the product discovery. Sorry. So after you finalize with your interview questions, you need to go and ask at least to 10 people, we recommend, because it's great that you come up with your questions, you have your beneficiaries in mind, or you think you like to serve your community, and then you write them up, and then you go and interview people. It's about acting things. Remember what I said at the beginning? It's about taking action on what you plan. So the more people you interview, the richer your understanding will be. For example, if your focus as a nonprofit is improving health and well-being in your community, then you could, for example, interview some busy business people who might be stressed or not have much time to exercise, for example. And again, it's about health and well-being. So don't forget that this is just a starting point. The questions you'll be asking and understanding their needs is just a starting point. And if the interview research end up throwing you in a different direction, that's completely fine. It's about this discovery phase that we are bringing to you today through the questions. So it's okay. We can adapt. We can reshuffle things, and it's about understanding, as we said before. And of course, we understand. You might be thinking like, yeah, interviewing people, great. With this current situation and our lovely friend COVID, we don't necessarily can be in person. So we do suggest you find a platform or a way that works for you. The fact that we are where we are today doesn't mean that we cannot do things. So we can still interview people, we can still get to know people and network and interact. So there are different ways in which you can do that. Today we are on Zoom. So it is not the only platform, could be WhatsApp, could be via email, could be any way that works for you and your target audience or your potential clients. Just our tip will be, or a piece of advice will be aware if there's bandwidth, as Matt was saying yesterday, if they have any internet connection or different ways, and that's when the creativity comes to play, right? It's like, if it cannot be in person, what can we do instead? So we encourage you to do that and trial these questions to see how that goes.
The one thing that also I'll add here is that people will generally, not everybody, but people will often want to be interviewed. You're taking an interest in them personally. You're giving them a stake in the game. And a lot of folks really like that. The fact that you're interviewing means that they have an influence, and it kind of empowers them, whether they're a donor, a client, somebody who works for you. It's really helpful to the people who are being interviewed, and a lot of folks really appreciate that.
Exactly. Thank you, Matt. It's about, if we truly focus on them and what the problems are and how we can help them solve them, we are genuinely being interested in them, and people can perceive that, as you said. So it's about that. So we wanted to share with you today a few top tips as well in terms of interviewing people, which I'm going to link it back all together. We believe is one of the first steps for you to start thinking about business idea to create your social enterprise, or to put in place your social enterprise. So a few tips to have in mind when you interview people. So remember to be polite and make sure that the people you are interviewing feel comfortable and relaxed. This is a safe environment. They don't need to be stressed or thinking like, what are they going to do with me? It's more like,
you're interviewing, you're not interrogating.
Yeah, exactly. So explain at the beginning who you are, what you're doing, what's your intention, and thank them for their time and for everything that they'll be sharing with you once the interview is finished.
And by the way, if they don't want to do it, no problem. Thank you very much. And
Exactly.
because your response even to that is going to make an impact.
Exactly. Thank you. And also make notes and write down the answers, as you will need to refer back to them later. So there's a reason why we're asking questions. So it's really important to take notes. And even if you are going to record the interview, always remember to ask for permission to do that. People usually, as I said, Matt, people are usually relaxed and say yes to that when they understand where you're coming from. So making notes and asking for permission if you're going to record the interview. Then the third one is about keeping an open mind and don't be judgmental, because we said it before, it's about being empathetic. We like to understand through our questions what the challenges are, what the problems are. So you want to absorb what the people you are interviewing are telling you and put yourself in their shoes. So it's, as we said before, that's empathizing. So rather than feel pity for them, which will be the opposite, which is sympathize with them. So keeping that open mind and not judging what they are sharing with you. And also it's important to show active interest with your body language. Show you want to know more and are really interested in what the person has to tell. You can see the body language plays such an important role. And myself, I know I play with my hands all the time, but it's about the intention that one's bring to the conversation.
Or if it's an audio, make sure you're giving affirmation that you're hearing them, that you're talking, that they know you're there. So,
Exactly. Yeah. It's just not a robot asking questions and then taking notes. And take your time and ask follow-up questions as well, if needed, because I usually say yes or no questions are like dead end. So if it's a yes or no and you like to find out more, take the time and with permission, you can follow up with more questions. And then look for patterns in what people are telling you. Are they common themes? Or do you notice any differences? And that comes when you, especially when you carry out this number of interviews, like interviewing only one person, great, but is that enough insight for me to understand what the community problem is or what can I help them solve? So that's where the number of people you interview plays in your favor. The more you interview, the more you get this common understanding.
now, my guess is that a number of you around the world are working in places where it may not be good, appropriate, or safe even to give somebody's name. So, always be open, or even in other places where it is, but be open to being anonymous. That somebody doesn't want to give their name or doesn't want to be identified in the survey later or anything like that. Actually, in those cases, you really can get some of the best answers because people aren't worried about retribution or something coming back to them.
Exactly. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so we leave it like this, the top tips. So we mentioned already, like having special care, I would say, or being careful, this new online environment and trying to find out what works best for you and your community, your audience, and what platforms are available to do that if in person is not an option. And of course, if it's in person, we usually recommend following all the rules and new advice given by the different governments in terms of protecting and making sure that it's a safe environment for everyone. Great. So shall we have a
Paula,
look at?
just a housekeeping detail here. We're into the time that we said we'd be. Just to remind everybody that it will be available on recording. So if you have to go, not a problem. You can pick up the rest of it real soon afterwards, and because we want to make sure you get the most out of this.
Exactly. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I was going to make a reference to that as well. If you can, I think we are 3/4 in, so probably be 10, 15 more minutes, I estimate. If you can stay with us, that would be great, and we appreciate and we are sorry that we overrun. And if not, as Matt said, the recording will be available, so you can always come back and watch the replay or whatever is left. But yeah, I guess it'll be 10, 15 more minutes, and then we are done. Great. So that's the first practical tool that we wanted to share. So it's about this activity and exercise that we hope it help you develop your empathy skills and listening to the people you interview and standing in their shoes, as you all said before, is important to understand needs and wants and truly understand and be on the same page in terms of their problems, feelings, and experiences without any judgment. So shall we quickly check if anyone has any questions before we move on?
We do have, let's see, somebody put up their hand and I have to go find that there. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, is it gone? I don't know. But yeah, you do have more questions. Just pop your hand up. Otherwise, we will move on or put them in the chat. Of course, that's even better. Oh, here we go. Olga, let's see. Go for it, Olga.
Hello.
Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening, or right, or day, yes.
Good evening in my place. So
Yeah, right.
thank you for the opportunity. I'm enjoying myself. I just wanted to go back to the very first slide on the activity one, where she says you start with the activity one, the very first slide,
Mm-hmm.
where you say you start with the survey questions. What do you call them? The getting to know the person.
Yes.
Now, if it is an agency you're interviewing, but of course you're interviewing the contact person in the agency, how would you ask particular phase, getting to know you questions? Would it then be what is the name of the organization, but you know it? What would you use? How would you get to know more about the agency without appearing as if you've not done any more research on the agency you're interviewing?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Olga. Thank you. Yeah, it's about not feeling silly, right? Like if you know what the agency is, you wouldn't be
Right.
asking, what do you
Yes.
do? But
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think that's a really good question. That's why we said before, like, you're welcome to adapt them as your audience or as you need to. But I would recommend in this case, if you know what the agency does, but think about you are interviewing a person, not the agency. So you
Okay.
can still break the ice with the person you are interviewing. You might be
Okay.
interviewing somebody so they can provide you information from community, or, I mean, there's a reason behind why that person. So
Is there?
all
Okay.
these getting to know questions is about is like breaking the ice with the person you are interviewing. So it could be, if you know he's a manager
Okay.
or a chief
Yes.
executive, it could be, I know you're a chief executive. How is your role going? How are things going
Okay.
in the organization? How's been lately with this with the crisis? How you be coping? It's more about, if you like to think, like the chit chat that you have at the
Yes.
beginning, like breaking the ice, and usually for the ones in the UK, you know better, or you know best, that usually the chit chat goes around the weather. Like, oh, it's been raining today. Yes. But it'll be sunny tomorrow. Yeah. And are you planning any holidays? So it's about breaking the ice, so the person feels comfortable with you asking questions and you explaining what is this about, why you like to find out more, like showing genuine interest, I would say.
The other
But
thing that I've run into in this case, which I think you're right, Paula, but also letting them know that you're asking maybe a standard set of questions, so that it's not just to one person, but it might be to several people. So you want to be able to compare the answers across and just explain that to them.
yeah,
Say, hey, a couple of these things, right? You're saying, well, gee, why are you asking? Because you're in this position, but I want to get your perspective and compare it to everybody else's perspective, so that I know where everybody is together. And a lot of folks will be, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. And you also come off, and it's true, and not only are you coming off this way, but it's true that you're being more scientific, more systematic with an approach where you're asking everybody the same questions, regardless of where they stand in an organization.
Thank you so much. I think it has made it more clearer. I've never really done this. I think what we've been doing most times is just getting the biodata of the person, the sex, the age, the usual. We have never really done getting to know your questions and then going into problem discovery. Thank you. This has been very, very informative. Thank you.
great, thank you, Olga. Yeah, play with it, but it's about that. It's about breaking the ice, and so the other person can feel relaxed and understand, yeah, what's the intention, as Matt said. Great, thank you, Olga. I'm going to move on to the second activity then, which is empathy maps. So once we carry out all the interviews, and we have all the information that we collected from potential customers, the next step will be to analyze it. So again, there's a reason why we are doing this. So firstly, we gather all the information. Second step is to analyze that. So reviewing and sifting through a lot of information to be able to identify valuable knowledge and insights is an essential skill for any entrepreneur, as it will help you identify potential solutions and business opportunities. So this is the time to put it all together. And it could be these 10 interviews, 50, 100, 150. So that's why it's important to bring it together and analyze it. So we like to introduce you to the empathy maps. And there are some instructions for this activity. The first one being that it's important that you do this activity as a team rather than individually, because this activity requires a certain amount of interpretation of the information that you got from the interview. So you want to make sure that everyone gets the opportunity to share their interpretation about the problems that you identify your potential customers might have. So I'm thinking about the products or service that you can create or come up with to solve those problems. So it's about, again, the same way as you are empathizing with your potential customer, we like you to apply those skills when you work as a team, because we suggest you do all of this as a team. Like, it's really hard to do this as a solopreneur within your organization. So once you collect or interview different people and you distribute roles, and 2 people doing this and 2 others doing that, you gather together and try to analyze information from the different interpretations. So this exercise will help you and your team to establish common ground and understand and prioritize the needs that you identify through the interview. So the idea is to bring all the pieces of paper from your interviews, and you're going to draw an empathy map, and you're going to draw one for each people that you interview. Yeah, so bear with me, 10 interviews, 10 empathy maps. So what is an empathy map? Well, it's actually a visual representation of what users say, think, do, and feel. That's why I say draw. So for you to visualize all the information that you collected and then put it into different boxes that I'm going to show you in a minute. So analyzing the information you and your team collected in the interviews by using this tool, the empathy map, will help you to draw conclusions and have a clearer picture of the needs of your potential customers and any insights which could inform a business idea. Again, think about this as your filter. You have lots of information from the interviews, and now you're narrowing down and analyzing that to identify needs and insights. So to create an empathy map, we suggest dividing just a big piece of paper in 4 different sections with a circle in the middle. And below you have 2 boxes. So let me show you what I mean by this. And remember that we are going to share this presentation. So you might see it tiny now, but it's all available to you. And it's also on the practical tool PDF that we are going to be sharing at the end of the session. So these are the 4 boxes. On the first corner on the left, we have the says, right, think, and feels, hear and sees, does. In the middle, we said we have the interview. The interviewee is the person who we run the interview with. And then we have these 2 boxes, needs and insights. So I said before, one of the questions was the ideal situation for our potential customers. I'll tell you what is mine for today. My ideal situation will be for me to run through this in detail today on this session, but I'm aware of the time, and I promised you before that it was going to be 10, 15 minutes. So I'm going to share this after today's webinar, and I'm going to share this and tell you that this is covered entirely in detail on what we recommend the next steps are. So it's not that you are missing anything right now. It's just that we don't have time to go into detail what is this. But I want you just to leave today with the idea that this tool will help you put everything together. And as I said before, narrowing down to help you identify needs, insights from everything that you gather from the interviews and the different perspectives. That's why we said it's important to do it as a team. Matt, are you with me? Audience, are you still with me?
I'm still with you.
Yeah, great. So empathy map.
I'm just focused on what you're saying. This is good.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, and I think we we kind of knew there was one that we might not have time to cover entirely, but it's not that difficult. We cover it in detail on the next step, and I'm going to share this tool with you at the end of the presentation. So if it's okay, we'll carry on so I don't get people forever on this call. So first step, let me recap quickly. First step, interviews. We learn what an entrepreneurial mindset is and why it's important in business. We recap or touch again on what empathy is and how we can apply it to our social enterprise. And we said that one activity to practice that empathy was by interviewing people, having this empathy or empathetic approach. And the second one was gathering and bringing all that information together from the interviews and putting on an empathy map. And the third one will be our final product, which is creating a problem statement. That's the outcome we are looking for through the activities that we covered so far. So a problem statement explains the problem you and your team want to solve by focusing on those insights and needs identified on the map that I shared before. So the map, again, interviews and map will help you come up with a problem statement. So the problem statement should be written in this format. So it's about the user or potential client might need a way to, and then we mention the need, that, because, but, and what's the insight. So what I want you to focus on right now is about these needs and insight. And let me go back to where you are getting them from. So it's about this, the two boxes at the bottom of the empathy map. So needs and insights identify, will help you create and come up with a problem statement. So let me give you an example. So then it's clear what we mean by this. So one example could be business people and students. Those are our users. On this example, if we think about us being a nonprofit focusing on health and well-being, as I said before. So business people and students need a way to rest and relax. Those are their needs because they work or study for 8 hours a day. That's the insight. That's what we find out through our interviews and the exercise with the map. That's one example. Another one could be business people and students need a quick and affordable way to do exercise. That's the need. They want to exercise more because traditional gyms are too far away and expensive. That's the insight. That's what we found out by asking the questions and putting ourselves in their shoes. So the need is they like to exercise more. The problem or the insight is actually the gyms are too far away and are expensive, so they cannot do what they need and want.
I think we go with that, too far away and too expensive. That's why I'm on exercise. No, no, this is great. Does anybody have any thoughts or comments on the problem statement examples? Do you think you can pull these things together for your people?
And let me add, Matt, that we don't necessarily at this stage need to come up with a solution.
That's right.
That's the next step, right?
Yep.
So it's like baby steps, one at a time, that we are taking to come up with this innovative and feasible idea for the social enterprise. But it's about one step at a time, as I said before. The next step after the problem statement will be brainstorming and thinking about business idea that can help solve this problem. But we wouldn't know what the problem is if we haven't done all these activities before.
Well, and you'd be surprised at just getting to this point, how you will, clarify your own work and what's going on, what you need to do, but also enable you to talk to other people about why you need to create whatever you're going to end up creating is. This is a really powerful tool to start taking your idea out and having conversations with people inside your organization and outside your organization, because now you're identifying some really specific needs in a way that people can connect to.
Exactly. And we understand as well, as we are all in the same sector, we are so close, sometimes not necessarily physically, but we understand the needs of the people we serve. So it's about that. It's about applying um, the same methodology, I would say, as we do in our everyday work, but through thinking with this social enterprise hat on.
Well, and one of the things I've observed to a lot of people I work with is that a lot of people who work in nonprofits aren't into the heads of the people they serve. And this is a really good way of doing that, of understanding where they're coming from. Empathy, right? For a lot of purposes, not just developing a social enterprise.
Exactly. Remember what we said at the beginning. It could be either for that or for improving the programs that we run. So yeah,
Right.
Exactly as
And
you said, Matt.
John Michael makes a good point here. Design thinking methods and this, there's some
Yes.
good similarities here.
Yeah, exactly. This comes from design thinking as well. Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit different because it's tailored to social business, but design thinking can be applied to anything. So yeah, it's coming from that. That's exactly right, Michael. Okay, I'm aware of the time, so I'm going to just finish this presentation in the next 3 minutes, ideally, because I don't want to overpromise everything that I said. And the next one is just for everyone to know, next week we will be running the same webinar on a different time. So people from different parts of the world can join as well. So I'll probably be earlier in the morning, Europe time. So we'll get this time in right next time. I'm probably extending more than an hour. So I apologize again for that. But let's move on to what we can do then. And I said at the beginning, stay tuned if you'd like to find out more. So again, recap on everything that we share and everything that we cover. As I said before, 3 main activities that we've done is the interviews, the empathy map, and the problem statement. So with that, we can start thinking about ideas. On the next step will be brainstorming business ideas, carrying out SWOT analysis, and doing market research on the ideas that we come up with our team. So we are actually, and that's why we are here, I would say, not only to give you all this value for you to apply in your everyday work, but also to share with you what we've been up to in this crisis in these last few months. We actually developed a course for nonprofits, an online course available to any nonprofit professional. And if it's okay with you, I'll briefly talk about that because we have something that we wanted to share with you today. So I quickly go through that. So mainly what that is, as I said before, is an online program for nonprofits, and it'll give you all the tools and all the knowledge and learning that you need to come up with a profitable and feasible idea for your social enterprise. It's mainly for you. If we check before and you are in the right spot, and the teachers as well, it's for nonprofit professionals in any country in the world, taking the first steps, establishing that sustainability model that you said you were interested at the beginning, and discovering different income streams and how we can actually do this to achieve our mission, and becoming entrepreneurs. That's why we started the way we started today. It's about that, and ready to take the challenge and work with people from different countries, different cultures, and learning all together. So I'll quickly run through this. It's a 4-week program. We combine online videos, reading materials, and guides with activities to complete with your team. What we shared today is just a snapshot of that. It's just a teaser of the activities that you can apply, again, with your organization, whether it's for improving your programs or coming up with a social enterprise and developing different business ideas. For that, there's an online community. As I said before, it's online. There's a new normal now. So you can join like-minded peers in the world, and there's a forum as well only for this course, and there are coaching sessions as well. I said at the beginning, I'm a professional coach. That's my passion as well. You might have noticed my language on action, ambition, and needs and understanding. So there are coaching sessions available for the ones joining the course, and we'll be supporting everyone throughout the way with email, instant messaging, and WhatsApp, and so on. So quickly, 4 weeks, as said. The first week is about insights and understanding the needs of the community. Second one, you'll be learning about defining this problem and generating feasible business idea. Third week is about market research and prototyping. And the fourth one is about thinking about finances and the sustainability. Great, so I will stop in 1 minute. If you are ready to come up with an innovative and feasible idea by September, today is the 13th of August, we still have time. We will like to invite you to join our course. So it'll actually start anytime because it's self-paced. That's the cost, $159. But we have this exclusive discount launch offer for everyone today joining us, and a special one for the ones that stay with us that long, I would say. So it's a 75%. Yeah, exactly. It's a 75% off, and that means that will only cost $39 as a launch offer that we are promoting on today's webinar, on our social media channels, on email, and different platforms. So we'll share the links on the chat box to have a look at the course page, and you can use a special discount when you access and sign up on the checkout page. The only thing that I would say, or the only two things that I will finish with are, the first one is we really, really appreciate your feedback on this webinar, because that will help us improve the future webinars, and definitely the one we'll be running next week. So we appreciate your 5 minutes that we'll take to fill in the survey, and doing that will grant you access to that special code that we mentioned before. It's just a coupon. It works as a coupon. So all you need to do is put that word, that coupon name on the checkout page, and then you can access the course for that amount of money. So that was one thing. The other one is that will only be available for 48 hours. So today, Thursday, you have until the weekend to think about this. We would love to join and be part of your journey on this, developing ideas and coming up with a plan to launch a social enterprise. So that's it. Matt, is there any questions on the chat that I'm not checking?
Yeah, Olga asked about signing up, but so you fill out the survey. You'll see the link there, the forms.gle link.
Yes.
And then the coupons at the end of the survey. That's kind of our way of getting you to fill out the survey.
Yes. Exactly.
But because we really do value your input on these programs.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the coupon will be available once you fill in the survey. And as I said before, we'll be sharing the presentation slides and the 2 practical tools that we shared today, that we covered today, regardless of the coupon. Like, we'll be share that to everyone who attended the webinar today. So don't worry about that.
And then EW asked about sending the link to the second edition of this one to everybody. I'm sure you will.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I have the emails. I have the email from everyone who registered today. So I'm going to invite you again for next week one. If you like to join, or if you like to share with any colleagues that you think will get value from the session, you are welcome to do so. So you will be sharing that invitation. It'll probably be around Wednesday next week. So yeah, hold the space and we'll share that with everyone who registered for today's session.
Let's see. Anahit, please send us presentation right away so we can copy the link from the survey. That's fine. We'll be glad to do that. And Olga expressed some concern about being able to use that survey link. If there's a problem, I'm sure they can reach out to you, Paola, right?
Exactly. That leads me to the last one that we said we can share all the contact details. Yeah, the survey is a Google form. So if you click on the link, it should take you to survey. There are
But
just a
if
few
they are,
questions, to be
if
honest.
they're, oh, I'm thinking if they're listening just to the audio, for example, then, you know, we can get that link to them through email or something.
Sorry, I missed that.
Oh,
What
I'm
is
saying
it?
if they're just listening on audio or can't see the chat for some reason because of bandwidth or whatever,
Okay. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
to reach out to you.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone, so you know, we'll be sharing presentation slides and the practical tools with everyone who attended the webinar today, and the special discount will be available for everyone. Sorry, who fill in the survey. So because we value your feedback and we like to hear from you on your experience on today's webinar.
Yeah.
So.
And if you are still on the video part, you can see our contact information. Of course, mine is at nonprofit.courses. And then it's teachamantofish.org.uk.
Yeah, exactly. All the
And
details.
to get you, Paula, it's courses at teachamantofish.org.uk for you specifically. Yeah.
Exactly. And we got your contact details, so we'll be in touch. We'll be in touch sharing the slides and inviting you so you can share it with your colleagues for next week webinar.
Yeah.
That's like, it's a pleasure to have you here, and we are really thankful for your time today, and appreciate your effort of joining today. So definitely we'll be in touch. You can either reach to us, or I'm promising you, we'll definitely be in touch with you, sharing the PDFs and invite for next week's session.
Yep. Well, everybody, thank you. I see folks are dropping off, so no problem. Glad you were all here.
Exactly. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time today. I hope it helped and gave you some value. You take away some value from today's session. And yeah, we'll be in touch then. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening, day, morning,
Yeah.
like depending where you are, afternoon in the world. And it was a pleasure. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh, and Thelma had her hand up. Are you still with us, Thelma? Let's see here.